Listen, I believe this must be
No, this is our candidate.
Justin.
No, Kyle.
Kyle. Oh,
Kyle.
Bill name's Justin.
Yeah.
How you doing? Pleasure to meet you. So, Chief, how would you like to handle? Would you like this gentleman to sit here for the next hour? Or
Want to go to executive session?
Well, that's what I was saying, Dan. I think we could move the executive session from the 12th meeting
till
to now.
Yeah.
And we'll do this, and then we can go back to the 15th and then finish off on the 12th.
I'll make a motion to move executive session up to now for a hiring process.
Second. All in favor? Okay. We're gonna invite everybody in the room to stay here,
Let's,
and you're gonna.
Yeah.
Who's on? Is Melissa on there?
is Melissa on yet?
Who's that iPhone? I'll call it. Yeah, but do whatever you do over there.
All right, so
Do you have his name?
Kyle.
Busse, Busse. Yeah, it'll be June 24th.
Wow.
Yeah, usually we're used to doing them the next day, but I really wanted them to make sure you gave them
Notice.
some notice. Yeah. He's like, I can start tomorrow. I said, no.
Oh,
How good did you told him?
Shift tonight.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go ahead. Makes sense they're not here to step.
No, we don't need that problem. Yeah, and that was one of the things we looked into in the very beginning, and they said, no, we're not gonna charge. And I said, okay. They got a bunch of people leaving though.
Back to business, you do?
No, they do. Manchester do.
Yeah, I know that Tony, he just retired, like out of the blue. So.
Yeah, they have some pension issue. You know, when we didn't have the pension, this was us.
Yeah.
On the other end, so.
We have any correspondence in at all, Chief?
I still have this letter for Paul. He's not here.
But this was for the whole month of May.
What are we?
Oh,
what are
yeah,
we doing?
we're back in,
We're going back.
we're going back to May. No, that was actually on the May agenda though, that I had a letter for Paul, so.
So, no correspondence.
No.
Then we had verbal on police renovations.
did you do the approval of the minutes?
Did we?
No, we didn't.
No,
Before we get-
yes, approval of the minutes. Anybody have any discussion on that? Corrections, deletions? I thought they were pretty good.
Just the executive session typo on page 3.
Okay, page 2,
Yeah,
okay, typo.
a motion to exit exec to the session.
But so we need a motion to accept the minutes from April.
Make a motion to accept the wait a minute, April 17th. minutes.
Yep.
I was here right for that.
Yeah.
Second.
All right.
Yes.
May I?
Do we have any discussion? Okay, vote. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. It's more confusing with review.
Can I ask a question? Sorry.
Sure.
Is it Melissa and Paul for the excuse, or what's this? What do I mark?
I don't know about Paul.
I don't know, he never responded. We don't know about him. I'll check just to make sure, but Yeah,
So I
nothing.
show Melissa excused.
Put them
Yeah,
both, you know,
she
sometimes
told
it's
me, yeah.
excused. Put them both as
Yeah.
excused.
I just want to make.
We could always
sure-
change it.
Well, Melissa did say something about when she had. She did
All right.
say something.
All right, sorry, I didn't need to stop the motion. Go ahead.
No, that's fine. We have that clarified. Okay, so we're gonna move on to old business. We got police renovation. Anything that you should know about real quick?
yeah, so. I'm just thinking that when we go to the June 12th, tonight's agenda, you're gonna get the same report, so I'm just gonna give it to you now.
Yeah,
right?
it's like.
So renovations had to come, they've slowed down. In fact, they had a meeting again today. Every 2 weeks we have a meeting. The issue isn't on our side. It's the fact that something out here in the plaza it's leaking in the building, so they had a stall, so to speak, with the engineers coming in to try and find out where the water's coming from. And that was the meeting leading into that last meeting. And then today, the engineers did some tests and they're gonna shoot some type of filler down and up and see where, they're not sure where it's going, but it's running along one of these steams in here. But the public building people tomorrow night are meeting and they're gonna be talking about it, what they're gonna do, because they might have to dig up this parking area. Yeah, and so that might be a whole nother project they were talking about today. And other than that, they started doing some sheetrock. The plumbers have been in. In the next week or two, they're gonna have to shut down the AC to make the HVAC changeover. So that they're gonna deal with the Board of Ed on seeing if the people in the Board of Ed side will find an alternate place to work or work from home or something. But downstairs they'll have no AC for about a week. And that's gonna affect us too, but most of our people go on the road anyways. Of course, they were way ahead of the game money-wise, but now if this other thing becomes this big nightmare, that's already consuming some of the money they thought they were gonna save, because there's a couple job changes that reduced costs already.
Are we gonna eat this as part of our project?
That's, I listened to what Mike Ahern said today in the meeting. He doesn't know. It's gonna be up to the PBC because they're in charge of the whole project, generally oversight, so they'll know tomorrow night maybe.
Chief, you said the PD is not gonna have AC for a week.
Yeah,
Have you
That's
made
the
any
thing.
plans for like portable units for dispatch or?
Alex, if you go down to my office right now, that thing runs 24/7 and there's still no AC. They
Fans or something we get?
dispatch has a separate system.
Okay, good.
Separate
Yeah.
systems of dispatch server room, men's locker room, women's locker.
Yeah, I don't want anybody fainting or
They
whatever.
got these wall units that, they plug in.
Okay,
so,
good, all right, as
yeah.
long as they got something.
Yeah, I don't think it's gonna be a big imposition for us. The Board of Ed people, they're gonna be upset.
Bet you it's gonna be 100 degrees.
How about the town?
It's not gonna affect upstairs.
It's kind of underground, so it's
Yeah.
still, I don't know,
So,
I just worry someone's gonna.
All right.
yeah, that's all. Everybody goes on the road.
Yeah. Traffic stops.
For us, that's not a problem. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so that's pretty much where we are, and like I said, they're still doing things, but they slowed down. They were really moving right along. We were gonna be like a month and early, maybe a month and a half early. Yeah, and this problem, I believe what they were saying today is that if this problem is big, it's gotta be a separate issue,
Should be.
and that's just gonna affect our completion date. So,
So we have a Orchard Road complaint update. What was that?
that's the Millard complaint. And we filed 3 weeks ago when we had not our non-meeting. The Millards did show up for public session and we didn't have it, but I filled them in. We're waiting on the state's response. We filed the paperwork and sent them their list of names of the people that signed and all. And then we've been trying to, every time we can get out there on Orchard Road, and do some traffic stuff.
Juvenile, sorry.
No, I was just gonna say.
Juvenile bicyclist complaint response.
Well, it's still a problem, but it seems to, it's kind of abated a little bit because some of the people that we've been looking at were involved in other incidents out of town. And one of the big trouble making kids, young teens, was involved with the BB gun shooting over the weekend in West Hartford, where they drove around shooting people with pellet guns, shot people in the face and all. So he got scooped up. 2 juveniles and the driver was from Berlin. I spoke with the superintendent. We had a meeting with the superintendent. The 16-year-old and the 17-year-old, they're moving for expulsion. But today, the youth detective told me that the 17-year-old probably doesn't even go to school here because he came from Meriden recently and moved to town. So they think he might be registered in the Meriden school. So some issue with that. But that group was part of the ones that were going into the businesses and stealing like the donation jars off the counter. If this one juvenile has a very extensive history with us, and it's the courts. And then we've had we've had some bike officers go out there. They did do a safety rodeo, bike rodeo safety thing a couple weeks ago. And they had a good turnout from that. They get the partnership with the high school, with a whole group of high school students that are working with our officers on safe bicycling and doing stuff up at the parks and all too, the off trail stuff. So they got them more going off trail now. That's had some effect. So we address it every time we have the availability to put somebody, and it looks like the weather's going to be decent. We're putting guys, our girls, we only have a few people that are certified on the bikes out on the road. And then, I know, the youth officer has created a database in-house so we can track. So if I stop one of the kids and they're juvenile, I warn them, and then say Rob here stops a kid. The kids are, I've never been stopped before, and because we don't have like that juvenile database, we've been keeping track of our own, so we know who's getting talked to. We know what parents are coming in, are being brought in. So that's something they just developed that was right before the last meeting. So that it's a work in progress, but yeah.
Communication system update. The deputy chief was gonna have that.
Yeah, so our system, we were waiting last month. We were waiting for the proposal from Motorola and Norcom. We got it. We reviewed it, some very minor changes to it, and then while we were doing that, Motorola had an incentive offer. If we could get the a PO by the end of the month of June, they would kick back $125,000 cost. And if it's after July 1st until September, it would be $75,000. And then I think after September, there was no incentive. So we met with them. We talked to finance, talked to Kevin Delaney in finance, said, hey, is this a possibility that we could do this? He thought we could do it. So we put the wheels in motion last night at the finance board. We weren't on the agenda, but at the last business thing, Delaney brought it up. I was online with it, and they asked me some questions about it. Of course, everybody wants to save $125,000. So, and I did talk to the mayor the day that I got the offer for the $125,000, and talked to the mayor personally and said, hey, this is something we could do. $75,000 is nice, but I'd rather go with the 125. Can we make this happen? He assured me we could make it happen. So now next Tuesday, it goes back to the town council, and the finance board has to wait for town council to approve the bonding ordinance. And then, which they were working on, the finance board will then get it from the town council on the 24th. They'll have a special meeting I think it's just gonna be a Zoom meeting during the day to issue the PO. And we'll get it in
I think the finance board approved funding.
last night. Well, they did approve the funding previously, but last night we said, hey, guess what? We have this opportunity for $125,000 savings, which they had approved it without that. So they have to go back and change that. So that's what we're doing now.
That's good. Police award ceremony and.
Did you get?
Yeah, you did.
got copies for those that didn't make it, yeah. in the
Yeah, they
package.
made it into this one. Very nice.
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah, very good. All right, future staffing, but we'll probably end up addressing that on the June anyway, so if you want to write it down. It's up to you.
Yeah, I just figured if there was gonna be any open discussion. Mr. Busey is 46 for us on paper. You know, we've got multiples in academies, but so, you know, barring anybody leaving, we'll be good in about a year when everybody gets out of the academies and all. I just think that,
So we'll be able to see what the effect of number 46 is once everybody's done their FTO training and up to speed.
yeah, and out of the academy, because we have some that we just sent to the academy last month, so. And you're looking at, you know, January, and then your FTO time and all, so. But I think that as a commission, you should be thinking about future staffing now instead of waiting until.
Well, the wheels turn slowly, I agree.
Yeah, but if we're gonna make any kind of enhancements or anything, we're gonna need to know. Have an idea what direction this commission wants to go. I would say by the end of August, because you know Roche is leaving. Last year, they moved from October to September to get your budget requests all vetted out and everything. So I would not be surprised. Well, they said they were going to do it in late August this year.
We're supposed to have all of our budgeting done by December, I believe,
Yeah,
because last year we fell short of that. And we ended up going into like. February,
well, because they started earlier. They started every year. So this was my third budgeting season this year. Next year will be my fourth. And each year since I've been here, it's gone a month earlier. And I think that's because they're just trying to gauge what the costs are going to be down the road, of course. You know, I don't know what happened on Monday night. I know there was a meeting where they came up with some kind of a budget for the year because both referendums failed, but I don't know what the numbers are. I don't know if we got in that. I don't believe we got affected negatively. I would have gotten a phone call on that. So, but yeah, if we're going to look at increasing future, you know, one of the things that we're working on is putting one of our people on a task force right now. And it's going to take about 4 months to get them vetted to the task force. So, and then
What's that program that he's a part of right now? That's texting.
oh, he does the shares intelligence and information through Slack and some of the other sources. Yeah. So the guy that we have in mind to go to the task force, which we just found out last week, was already doing stuff, not realizing he's talking to people in the task force. He just thought he was talking to another officer from Britain. And then when we were talking to the Britain guy, he said, oh yeah, well, he's giving us stuff already. So it's going to be a great fit. It's just a matter of getting the paperwork and getting them vetted out.
Which one?
Green.
Which task force?
Green. Oh, FBI.
What, Safe Streets? Like, Safe Streets one? Are they going and do gangs or is it?
No, this is drugs and stolen cars and stuff. Yeah. Yeah, but they've got an operation going now where the targets are here in our town. So, and we got to have a meeting and sit down and talk about what we can offer them. But yeah, there's some money involved. So,
All right, let's move on to the chief's monthly report. Any comments on that, chief? That you have today?
yeah, on my monthly report in May, I cut and paste the stupid the Zoom meeting on the front page and didn't realize it. And then they're like, hey, when you did the agenda, you didn't do the Zoom meeting part. Well, that's because it was on the monthly report and I didn't see it until this month. So, let's see what was important last month. Green, the usual. Oh, our dispatcher's hired. The one that is also a certified training officer for dispatchers.
Nice.
And let's see what else.
Well, it looks like your police cadets did a great job.
Oh yeah, they came out number one, which is kind of a surprise. Not only to them, but to us too. Yeah, they did really a good job. You had a lot of it's cumulative, but they had a lot of second place finish. They only did some first place finishes, second place finishes and 1 third place finish, but points wise, I put them at the top. So now everybody's gunning for them. Which happens when you're on top, right? And let's see who else. I talk in my report a little bit about the bikes, and I have in there about the IPMBA training for the International Police Mountain Bike Association, how we have to, we use trained officers on our bikes and stuff like that, so. What else? It's on here. We did the memorial service at the graveside for Jeffrey Kasner on, May 15th. And, it was still a pretty good turnout for that, and we had a beautiful day that morning.
It was good.
Yeah, and, I think that was pretty much it for last month, yeah.
All right, let's move on to Patrol Officer Division. That would be Lieutenant Martin. Any comments you'd like to make? Any here? We haven't. Pull it up. I know, officer defer observer, vehicle traveling to a red STC signal and initiated a motor vehicle stop during the course of the stop. Officer defer warning. Vehicle's registration was suspended when the operator had an active pawn warrant. Other than Britain. That's excellent work.
Officer Dufour.
Yeah.
Is taking off. He's like a rocket right now.
Is he really?
Yeah, doing a great job down there.
I put a lot of emphasis every month on motor vehicle stops, just for that reason.
Oh, that's
You know,
great.
motor vehicle stop turns into better.
Then you had arrest warrant for Matthew, I cannot pronounce his Kevorkian. Was brought in by bail officer having 18 outstanding prong warrants and was processed on all 18 warrants. Held on count set bond at $841,000. Nice group effort. Officer Koskowski, Kennedy, and Green processing all the 18 warrants. Also, Officer Williams was staying like to assist Commissioner Watch at DHCC and B. So we had to sit at the Brittany to keep an eye on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you recall, a few months ago, we were having discussions in this commission about the types of work these officers are doing now and how things have really changed in the past few years here. Where we really focused a lot on the motor vehicle, but you look at some of these things, processing somebody for 18 prawns
That's a lot of
takes a
work.
shift, and those prawns weren't ours. Some of them might have been, but not all of them, So, that was good work too, but it does take a person off the road. And that's why when I saw that they're out there doing over 100 motor vehicle stops still, that's good because there's a lot of other activities going on.
I noticed too on one of the second lines, review of burglary and IBRS 220.
The NIBURS, yeah.
In all larceny cases, there was 4 burglaries in April represents 3 more than the previous month. The number of burglaries consistently higher compared with the same period in 23. Is there any particular place or is it just throughout the?
And this month, again, now, this current month, they're back down.
Yeah.
That's
Sometimes crime's an opportunity. Sometimes they're hitting multiple places and we get hit and then they go up to Newington or they go over to Cromwell on the same night, same day. It's all over the place.
So that takes care of that. Investigation Division, Lieutenant Sawyer. Any questions or? Any questions from the commission? Yeah, Lieutenant Solik, and then it goes to Detective Chafee, who also has his report in there. He's a youth officer, as you saw on the 3rd page back. So any questions there? Possible. Everything looks pretty good. It says multiple juveniles reported doing release the middle of the roadway on Farmington Avenue. School resource officer DePinto reported multiple juvenile bites go Berlin High School. Just yes, here's what it is. That was on the last page.
Hmm.
Second to last page. So we're actually stopping these bids and talking.
Oh, yeah, we've actually brought parents in too.
So that sports services division, Lieutenant Jones, any questions there? Page 2.
The agenda for next week's town council meeting on Tuesday. On the agenda is about $35,000 in waived fees for the Berlin Fair coming up for the officers.
How much is it?
35,000.
They waived?
Yeah, well, it's on the agenda to be waived next week.
But does that come out of your operating expense?
Comes out of our,
Our overtime.
And is your overtime budget, does it account for that? Like, so they say, hey, you normally get 2 million, but because of the
no,
Berlin Fair, we're gonna give you 2,035,000.
no, that's something that we've started really tracking the past year too, is we waive, like, if you wanted to have a nonprofit event and you can't afford the cops, just go to town council, they'll waive it. They wait, they've never said no. In all the time I've been here, never said no. So we're seeing more increase in those waves, like, it's a boots to boxes and stuff.
Yeah, it's $13,000 so far this year.
Yeah, I think the number's actually,
Well, that's
it's
just-
on the report now. We started putting it in the report. But what happens is when they waive something, they waive it at the Berlin price from our budget. But if we don't cover it, this is what happened with boxes to boots to boxes, whatever, boxes to boots. They thought they were getting a waiver for the police service and a waiver for the schools. Well, they got a bill from the schools for using the schools, but the officers that worked it the year before last were New Britain officers who make more money per hour. So it was even more money than, outside agencies don't waive. So they wanted to get their payment and they billed them, and there was a big issue with that. And then because of that, upstairs here, the finance said, well, you know what, we're gonna send the waiver stuff downstairs. Now we're doing the legwork in our support services unit, doing the paperwork for waivers and stuff. So they go in front of the town council, I wanna get something, and I can tell you what's coming up right now, the concert, I think it's July 18th at St. Paul's. There'll be a waiver for the officers for that concert. So the paperwork will get done downstairs, and then the town council just says yay or nay, and they've never said nay, so.
So if you guys are budgeted for 100,000 in overtime,
But we blow through it.
but 50,000 would be, for example, 35,000 would be for the Berlin Fair, so now you're down to 65.
Yeah,
Of that 35, are you ever reimbursed by the town?
No.
At the next quarter?
there's no reimbursement. So when the finance board is jumping on me about, hey, you guys are spending X amount of dollars in overtime, we have to keep going back up and saying, hey, we need more overtime money. One of the things we're saying to them is, listen, I came from a place where if you hired cops, you paid for the cops you hired for these nonprofit events, these special events and stuff like that. I understand that, they want to waive it because it's good. Good looks good, but then you got to realize if we're waiving all the fees for officers, that's coming out of our regular salary account. We have no way to replace that. So we have no choice but to come forward every 4 months, 5 months, say, hey, look, we're getting low, we need this, we need that. And they've been doing this for years here. It's not like this is a new thing.
So it sounds like we need to buckle down on getting a grip on our overtime problems and who's paying for what, who's not paying for what.
Yeah, so,
That's what
I mean, the only people paying for cops are the road job people. The companies doing road jobs. When you think about it, everything else is being paid by us. We're paying for it because it comes out of our operating budget.
What were you guys budgeted for this year? I'm trying to figure out.
Well, that's gonna be an interesting thing because we don't know what the final budget was.
What, 330? Is that what it is, or 540?
Which one, are you in this current one?
I'm looking at the
Yeah, which one is that last?
most current one.
The most current one is this tonight's, right?
Yeah, 540, is that the budget?
Yeah, 547.50 adopted.
Yeah.
And
Let me
out
just
of
make
that-
sure that was. No. See, We get this monthly, but
And it's been brought up to eight
yeah,
hundred
540,
seventy
so we're at 80, yeah, 870 now.
So we're 300 over.
330, yeah, 330, yeah.
Yeah,
The 330 is what's been added to the 540.
Yeah. I
I think
don't have the
it's,
top line.
yeah, a previous one does, I'm looking at it.
Oh,
It's-
oh, yeah, that's hard for me to tell what
Yeah,
it is. I don't have the top one. How much of that 870 is waived fees?
might be on this, let's see. Support services have been tracking it, so let's see. Might be,
it was 13, but that seems like,
that is light,
I think he initially started doing it by calendar year, fiscal year, so that 13 since January.
yeah, not
Yeah.
counting last,
No.
not counting
Year's span.
last 6 months ago, yeah.
Are you able to get us that, chief?
yeah, it should be in this report because it was in last month's.
I found,
report,
I
so-
have last month's.
But from like fiscal year, you know what I mean? If
Oh, well, we have to go back,
Yeah,
yeah,
if we went
because,
back, I think that'd be good to have a discussion.
yeah. Yeah, that's how we found that it was only since October, but we're like, no way. We were looking at, what the council keeps approving, and then our number wasn't matching up. So included in that 800,000, you gotta figure there's three. No, there's two officers. That from the year before previously rolled into this year with, work-related injuries. And then we have, so we backfilled for them. And, what did we hire so far? Oh, I got that report here. We were down. Back to Solus. Is the standings of where we are with our hiring every month now, so
When's the fiscal year end?
June 30th.
June 30th?
Yeah.
So we're gonna be in the red by almost 350. Okay. Is that about?
Yeah, but see, we never get in the red because Delaney moves money all the time. So we're always, Yeah, he
Eight
pulls
people
back the-
short, so we
yeah.
can put money out of the salaries, account, put it in the overtime. Supposed to have it accounts.
So it's mostly mandatory patrol overtime related.
Yeah, it's either control overtime, backfilling for injuries or sick.
yeah,
So hopefully by next year with the new bodies coming in, it should,
that number should dramatically
Should
drop
mitigate
because
it,
if you look at the new hire status report, you'll see that we're 11 short at the beginning of 2023. 11 people short in a 46-man department. That's a big number.
Yeah. I wonder if, once we get the numbers of what we waive for overtime, if we could create a separate line item
It's about
budget,
$100,000 a year total, I think.
we create a separate line item budget for it. Right? And that's where it's waived from. So it's not coming
So
from
they
the,
know.
from the overtime line item. It's coming from the overtime waived line item. I wonder if that's possible. I'm not a,
This way it's easy to explain. to-
from a fiscal sense, it's easier to follow, you know, so at a certain point, the town council could say, well, that line item's run out, and they would need to speak with Delaney to figure out how to reallocate it, and then if it's used up, it's used up, if it's not,
Right.
right?
Right.
But then you make a line, you itemize how it is, so then the overtime, that's the operating overtime is coming for just the PD, and then the separate overtime.
So that's a deputy chief's wheelhouse when he does the budget.
Yeah, well, that's why last year we said we got to start doing this because we needed to go to the town council and say,
So when he
listen,
gets back this week. explain that to
Yeah.
him.
Is there a distinction between like patrol-related overtime or department-related overtime and like highway construction-related overtime? Does it all come out of the same pot?
it all comes out of the same pot, but the difference this year is that, on the construction related overtime, the cost for the cars is not going back to general fund. This is the first year that they're taking the cost the money they gather from the cars, putting into a separate account to try and use in the future to purchase, new vehicles.
So like, say, for example, Smith Construction wants to hire a police officer to do help with the traffic control at an intersection. That overtime comes out of that overtime slot, or is it a separate slot?
No, it all comes out of the same overtime.
But then that's reimbursed by them, correct?
Yeah, we don't know what the reimbursement is because we don't see it on our end.
So
They see it up here.
but that's where my confusion lies, right? So like, if you have mandatory overtime, we have no choice, we have to fill it.
Mhm.
But say we have an extremely busy construction season, and that amounts to $3 million, it's gonna show us being,
Yeah, so that's what happened
$3 million.
this year over on Christian Lane and Material with all the
You
paving
get what I'm
projects and
saying?
everything.
I think
That's
there needs,
typically a negative line item in the budget. The construction costs shows up as a negative line item until Kevin Delaney balances that after the end of the fiscal year.
So we might see that in August. If we see that balanced amount.
so you guys didn't
You gotta ask.
necessarily spend 870,000 in overtime just for patrol and
No.
No,
detectives.
no.
That's highway
Yeah.
construction, that's confusing, that's not right,
Yeah,
because
so
it's
it's-
making you guys look like,
I know, that's the problem. When I came here, I said, why aren't these things itemized? Because they
Yeah,
like
that's not
lump,
right.
they like these big lump sums up here in finance.
Yeah, they don't like
and it's setting you guys up for failure, because when you when you have to speak before the Board of Finance, they're gonna say, these guys are raking
Well,
over $1
right,
million.
that's the problem we have now,
overtime."
yeah.
It's not true departmental overtime, it's, you
Yeah.
know, say Manafort has a big project and they hire 10 of you guys a day for 3 months, it's gonna come back at like $3 million.
That's a problem.
That's something to talk about.
Absolutely.
I digress, thank you.
No, you're right on the mic. We've had this conversation since January with Kevin Delaney, but he gets his marching orders from the finance board too.
Right,
So
that's something maybe we could, as a
We
commission,
need to
talk to,
really, really.
set up.
you
like a
really
joint-
need to have a joint meeting
A
between the
joint
police
meeting,
commission
yeah.
and the finance board and say,
Might
hey,
as well include the town council as well.
they just,
I know.
it makes sense because not everybody's on the same page.
Right.
Yeah,
So what we should do is maybe have the deputy chief put together what we're discussing right now and break down just exactly what's going on.
Yeah, can we get that, a breakdown of what is like departmental overtime versus what is highway construction or whatever?
I think that could come through,
And wait.
board services, I can get that.
And waive fees.
Well, we're doing the waive fees already, so,
We'll do everything and then I think what Commissioner Giannone is saying is we'll go before the town council and finance board and carry the statute.
I'd like to be armed with the information.
yeah, we probably need to do it like by September though.
Okay.
Because once they get into budget season, they're not gonna wanna hear anything.
Yeah, sooner the better.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I would obviously love for you to be there. to
Oh,
explain it as
definitely.
well.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we need itemized lines. This is not-
It's not rolled out. I think that it's- it was never-
All right, so moving on, we had anything on the SRO or potential, that was part of Lieutenant Jobs, and also Brandon, the training officer. That is reported at the end of Michael Jobs. Any questions here? It's a nice job with pictures here and everything else. Pictorial is very good for getting an understanding of what he's talking about in the report. I could like that.
Well,
I like-
that's our new focus too, is if you don't have a picture of it, it didn't happen, right?
Well, it just helps. It helps
Yeah.
explain it. All right, so moving on, we're gonna go to, you did basically do the operations report with Gallup, because that was the budget that we just had to discuss on. Freedom of information law,
That was a long one.
anything there? Anybody interested, have any questions?
We got served yesterday, the town, the police department and myself for a FOI complaint. We spent a lot on it. we go a lot, we spend a lot of time in Hartford defending these FOIs. And the woman that's,
Maybe
doing
that
that,
could be part of the budget too, we're wasting a lot of time and money and effort.
well, you know, they gotta, see, that's
Gotta
the other
be
thing,
part of it.
where do you get that information's gotta be in finance, because they gotta pay for D'Onofrio's time. We sent him a bunch of stuff today. He's gonna file for this, our appearance for this new one that's coming up. And I can be honest, these FOI complaints, we win them because we're following the law. It's just people, everybody's got this idea that we're hiding everything. Everybody thinks you're hiding
So
something.
it's costing us money.
Yeah, and this is a statewide problem. It's not just a Berlin problem. And we brought it up to the legislation twice now through different legislative sessions that we should be able to start charging for some of the time and all, and it gets shot down every time.
Does the overtime come out for dispatchers out of the same budget as well?
Yes. You're gonna be focused on this tonight, right? The whole overtime
Just
thing?
doesn't make sense. And
Yeah.
then,
Yeah,
lastly,
Yep.
just from like a employee wellness perspective, say you have like a long scene or whatever, do you have like a open line item credit card budget? So if like,
I don't have a credit card.
so what if like the officers need water, pizza,
I pay for it out of our pocket and then we get a reimbursement. We gotta
you
get
do get a reimbursement,
Yeah, I gotta get a
Okay.
reimbursement.
All right.
We have a credit card.
but it's a pain in the
The
butt.
deputy chief has it. I've been asking for one since I got here. He keeps it, but it only has a credit limit of, I think, $300. No lie, no lie. So anytime we go to use the credit card, we have to go to finance. If it's gonna be more than 300, and then they give us that, they'll make the call to wherever we're going and call the bank and get us an exemption.
So for like extended scenes, you can provide for the officers, right? Like,
Yeah,
pizza,
listen,
water.
the extended scene I will provide if
Okay.
it's not a problem.
just making sure. I didn't,
But yeah, they're real tight about credit cards. I'm like, there's no expense account or anything like that here.
All right, so we've done executive sessions, so we're going to ask for adjournment, but you're liking it that much. And we'll go on to the next meeting.
Not really a journey.
Yeah, I wouldn't adjourn. You're in the
Yeah,
same
You
meeting.
want to just move right on to the
Yeah.
second?
Okay, just to explain, because we didn't have the meeting, we didn't have a quorum last month, I added the approval of minutes on C for this month, but you already approved them, so you can get past that. The correspondence is the letter to FSU still.
I'm gonna take a minute to run to the head quick. Everybody? Sounds good. Okay, well, obviously, we don't need an audience of citizens. And we have approval of minutes for, we did that. Sometime just from the-
I think you should just go right to F, new business.
We can skip all over the old business, so the right to new business, okay, so we have Sergeant Gould here to explain to us what's going on. Would you like to proceed, please?
Well, first of all, congratulations. I've been here 23 years on this. Maybe the second time we've been voiced out. So that is actually a pretty good feat. For those of you, I'm sure I've talked to most of you guys at some point or another. I actually started a push for us to transition our firearms back in 2018. When we were getting ready for the new guns, to make a transition to 9mm and to go with optic ready guns. I wrote my proposal. Everything was submitted. Unfortunately, Chief Platt at the time decided that he wanted to stick with 45 and didn't want to go the way of optics. Pretty much everything that was in that initial proposal has come true. Now, I will freely admit that the tragic events in Bristol fast forwarded this state with optics, but the rollout, especially that the state's seen with law enforcement agencies going with optics in the last year, is just, it's insane. Everybody's getting them. I've been here long enough. I saw a lot of the same arguments that we had 15, 16 years ago when we were looking to get optics on our rifles. I heard some of the same things. Now, I mean, those are common practice. You're not going to find a rifle pretty much anywhere without some kind of optic on it. It took a little time for the technology to improve, to get it down to where they're reliable handgun optics. Training was a little bit issue. There's a little bit more of a learning curve, for an optic on a handgun than there is with a rifle. But it is, I mean, it's the wave of shooting. It's the new wave, and it's certainly the where law enforcement is headed. I had a conversation with Bowles Campbell, who runs the FBI SWAT team out of New Haven, and you know, we were talking about that the FBI made the switch to 9mm. They're rolling out optics agency wide. So has almost all the federal agencies at this point are running them. Law enforcement shootings nationwide for decades, our hit percentage floated somewhere in the high teens to low 20%. Guns have gotten better, training has gotten better, and yet that percentage never changed. Now that optics have been sort of around long enough, now there's enough data over the last 5, 6, 7 years of agencies across the country. There's been enough police involved shootings with optics. Hit rates now with dots are approaching 90%. So there is no one piece of technology that has fundamentally changed shooting than red dots. So so what we're currently doing is we're going to be replacing all of our guns with 9mm, and we're going to allow guys using their clothing allowance to purchase optics. So once I know sort of where we're at, kind of department wide, because it'll be voluntary. We're not gonna mandate it, at least for now. Whether or not we do that down the road is a different discussion. So once I kind of have a good idea of how many guys plan on getting optics when we roll this out, I'll set up training and roll that out. So I'm hoping, I've been working on getting holsters and sample optics and stuff like that so that guys can pick. I'm everything goes well, I'd like to target the end of September, beginning of October, as the training rollout date. I can tie that in with what we would normally do our night shoot, so that we can kind of do it all at once.
So the 9s will completely replace the 45s.
Yeah,
And the option will be to put the optics on it.
yeah, they'll come cut. Smith has their optic ready guns, just like Glock and SIG and all the other ones now. So they'll come, they'll be optic ready. I just went ahead and everything we ordered already has the suppressor height sights. So, you know, even if somebody chooses not to run an optic, they still have iron sights. If they put an optic on there, they'll have backup iron sights.
But the choice to keep the 45 doesn't exist.
No, I mean, other than because the problem that you run into with that is I even got some of the holsters that will take Smiths dovetail mounts, which aren't really the best way to mount an optic, still don't fit in the holsters. So that was a major hurdle. The other major thing too is and the whole 45 9mm debate, and that'll never end. As long as there's gun purists out there, there's always going to be an argument as to which caliber is better. I will say that gap has certainly narrowed. In fact, I would actually argue that the gap was probably always narrow. I think there were a lot of 9mm got a bad rap back in the 80s in the Miami shooting. The FBI had a lot of bad tactics with that, and their scapegoat was the bullet. So a lot of people for a long time kind of, you know, that's where the 40 developed from, because they basically said the 9mm was too small to do any damage, and it really wasn't the round. It was some of the tactics. So as technology has changed, they certainly have come around, and obviously the FBI just switched back to 9mm, so they find merit in it. What you can't deny is 9mm is softer shooting, so the recoil is less, which means that it's faster and more accurate to shoot. And we're going from 10-round magazines to 17-round magazines. So that's also huge too when you talk about the capacity. So I know there's some guys that are running 4 mags. The few that are, you're looking at 41 as a duty load. Most guys are running 31. Just going with 3 rounds of 9mm, they're going to be looking at 52 rounds. So that's a huge jump in the amount of ammo they're going to have on if the event that something happens. So plus, like I said, it opens the door for red dots, which is really the important.
guys running Smiths
Yeah.
or models? Or the MMPs?
Yeah, 2.0. So the ones I ordered, the new flat trigger ones, which in my opinion, Smith screwed up. That's what they should have released when they released the 2.0s. They released the 2.0s and it was another year or two before the flat triggers came out. If they had released them together, I think there'd be no doubt they'd be kicking SIG's butt right now. SIG's marketing is insane. But I think so many people that have flocked to the SIGs, if they had shot the flat trigger MMPs. Because I'll tell you right now, every agency that I talked to, Chester just went to them. They had HKs, they tested the stuff, and they actually tested the Smiths on a whim. And as soon as it got in their guys' hands, they went, "We want these." So that's what they just rolled out. I like Smith. You know, I mean, I shoot a lot, so I shoot a lot of stuff, so I can shoot anything well. But I do think that the Smiths are a great gun.
And what about, how many hours retraining for the qual?
So what I'm kind of thinking to do, I know a lot of departments are rolling out 2 days, which logistically becomes really tough. Especially because once we mount them, we really can't, it's not like I can roll them out one day and then a month later roll them out for another day, because what do you do for that time in between? So I'm thinking if I can tie it in with our night shoot, I can do a 12-hour day. And then I can kind of get everything done. The preliminary, I was working out some drills and everything else. I think I have a round count at about 620 rounds, I think is where I'm looking at. So yeah, you know, another 4 hours, you know, a few more drills, a few more to lock it in. But I think because the platform is so familiar, and that I think that will certainly get guys a really good basis to be able to, you know, comfortably and confidently go out and run them. So maybe we'll look to add some extra time in the spring, you know, maybe like we kind of set up our quarterly training so that like April, May, June timeframe becomes kind of like our qual. So maybe then just kind of doing that, maybe we'll look to extend some hours, you know, next year so that we can do some more stuff with the dot.
At the end of the day, it really came down to all of the things that Ryan has mentioned. What he was able to find, thanks to the Smith rep, actually, super low price.
Yeah.
I mean, we're replacing all of our firearms for $12,700. Use the asset for so it's not coming out of that budget.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's what trading in our 45s, obviously. But
And I can
Nine's the way to go.
And I can tell you that from the financial cost of it too, 45 is about 32% more expensive. So what that factors out in, because I went back and looked at the last 3 years, obviously since we rolled out the 2.0 45s, and I think the average was about $3 to $4 grand a year
savings
of what we spent buying 45 versus what
Yeah.
we did. So if you look at that, that was the cost of the guns the last 3 years, and certainly over the next 3 or 4 years. And that's 60 guns going from, you know, our inventory of currently of 48 to 60, so that we can,
All for 12.
yeah.
Yeah,
That's why it was a no-brainer deal.
smaller statured people, difficult time shooting accurate. Larger calibers.
And we've seen that.
Yeah, we had out of everybody, we had 6 people fail, that had to reshoot, so.
And I think the optics, I think you're gonna see, you guys are buying their own out of the uniform allowance. But
Sounds like a run.
I think it's gonna be close to 95%. You just see it's gonna get.
Yeah,
I'd
I
be
don't,
surprised if it's not even higher than that.
I haven't heard anybody say they're not buying them.
Right, there are people that that are not gun enthusiasts that don't like to shoot, that have come to me and said, "Oh, God."
I was honestly, I was shocked. I completely underestimated it when I was talking with some of the other instructors. I figured out rollout. I'm like, oh yeah, we'll get like 12 or 15, and then we'll get a couple guys trickling. And Lieutenant's right. Like the amount of people that have come up and talked to me were people that I would have firmly put in no category, are asking me about like which one should I get, and I'm like, wow. So I think you're right. I think at the end of the day, it's probably going to be near 100%. So, and you know, Bristol, New Britain, some of the bigger agencies that have rolled them out, Southington's rolling them out there.
Rocky Hill's doing it today.
And everybody, every single, because I network with all the firearms instructor, every single department that has rolled these out, they have seen an average of a 25 to 30 point increase on qualifications. The number of 300s skyrockets, and they're just saying everybody just shoots better.
At Mid-State Chiefs today, they were talking about everybody's doing it.
We allow it, for personal guns. The TAC team guys have it. We do not yet.
You guys will be the final domino. I had one of the troopers in the FIDC class, and he loved it. And I said the same thing to him. I said, when you guys get them, everybody will have them, because nobody will have the excuse once the state gets them, and it'll come. I guarantee it.
I think it's a matter of ending the serviceable life, the ones we have. You know,
See, but you gotta balance that trade-in value too. That was the key for us.
yeah,
Also,
times 1,000 is a
value.
lot of money, you know?
Yeah.
So,
Okey dokey. So we're all
Thank you.
set with the presentation. Thank you.
Thank you.
Really
Thank you.
appreciate it.
We're good.
Have a great night, guys.
you too, thank you.
Okay, we'll go back to the future staffing discussions. Where I'm assuming we're all under agreement that at this point we will address that, but we just need to get a lot of this field officer training stuff settled. So that we know how we're gonna deal with the staffing of the 15 people that have to.
Mhm.
Is that what we're?
Yeah, but I'm still planning for 50. That's why he's got 60 guns coming. You know,
Fair enough.
that was what I was asked when you guys asked me that when they hired me. Can we get to 50? I can get you to 50, but you need 50 of everything. So, you know, yeah,
And this is something you wanna have a discussion with, by like around September.
well, I think if we're looking at adding 2 more people down the road to 48, we need to have that discussion before a budget finalization.
Which is September, correct?
Yeah, and then they play with it in January and
Okay, so
February.
we have time to talk about it.
Yeah.
All right, moving on to the monthly report. Is there anything in the monthly report?
It's a short month, 3 weeks.
Security meeting for the school, what was that all about? And then
Which one is that?
that's number 520, 520.
Oh, every month, just about. I meet with the superintendent of schools and his head of security there, Schmaltz.
Yeah.
And you know, we go over whatever the current issues are. That's like, you know, he calls me to find out who's getting expelled, who they're gonna expel, stuff like that. And our big discussion every meeting is always about paying for private duty officers for these events. Now they're going on summer break, so we won't meet again until the end of August, beginning of September. They're already talking about, you know, they want to reduce the number of officers at the football games because it costs too much money. But we're not going to reduce the number of officers at the football games. There were some things I was willing to work with them on. You know, how many officers do you need for the ballet recital versus a football game? It's a big difference, you know.
But this is also a line item that we should need to address on the budget.
That's right, because it's not in there as a line item. But one of the other things that we have, like I said, the concern is we get so many jobs, we don't have enough people to cover them. You get outsiders and they're all different pay rates. That's the problem. So they have one of their issues, they just had, I think it was a PTO Harlem Wizards basketball game, and they hired 2, you know, they fill out the paperwork in advance to hire staffing. We sent 2 of our officers over there, and the athletic director told them go home. Said, I'll need you. I didn't hire you. So there was a big. This has been going on for about 2 months now, but I already knew about this because the officers went home. But they're like, hey, we got to get paid for being there, and of course they do. There's a union involved, and the game didn't bring in the crowd they thought to be a fundraiser. So the athletic director just figured, well, if I send them home, I don't have to pay them. So he got in a fight with Lieutenant Jobs last Friday, and he was going off on Jobs. And Jobs came in to see me Friday afternoon. He's like, I don't want to cause a problem, but the guy's not paying this. I said, listen, I already talked to the superintendent ahead of time. And they know that they gotta pay, besides the fact that we have the order from the school ordering 2 officers. So, then the athletic director started, and well, they rip us off at the football games. No, well, we don't rip you off at the football games, first of all. You wouldn't. They're not happy with the way the football games are run, but they have police officers parking cars. And my response to them last year at this time was, why don't you do this? Get some of those football parents to park the cars. And then we can look at reducing maybe the number of officers, get officers back into the stadium. So that's the thing. Our guys have to be out there parking cars. You got to be on the turnpike to get them in the Sage Park, which is dangerous. And at the end of the night, they leave the football game right before the end of the fourth quarter to set up to get the cars out. It's an operational thing. Listen, I was on the board of ed for 6 years in the town I live in the Milford. And we used to fight with the cops all the time about paying them too. This is a forever thing.
So you get a check right from the school board to pay for our.
No, we don't
guys?
get anything directly from the school board. The town's supposed to get it. The school board doesn't, they're not in that waiver thing. Although, now I understand since Friday that the athletic director is gonna go to the town council and try and waive the fee from the 2 officers from the event that happened back in March. And the town council will say yes.
There's nothing better.
Yeah.
State FOP meeting, what is that?
Oh, that was the state lodge meeting in town. We hosted it here.
And anything happened at the mid-stage chief meeting?
Today?
Yeah.
Yeah, Ryan was talking about the red dots. Rocky Hill just is in the process of training their people now with their optics. I mean,
Mhm.
everybody's going to it. And they're all getting away from the higher caliber.
Well, so no,
Yeah.
it's cheaper.
Yeah. Well, it's all about money too, because trying to get the 45 ammunition, it's hard and it's costly. So.
All right, so we're moving on, patrol, operation division, Lieutenant Martin. So, anybody have any, questions there?
So this one on the May 14th, that's the one where they came in and took it.
They didn't take an investigation, they just did the other process.
Getting towards the last page, right, I noticed that we have cars being stolen. Is there any, when they stealing, right, people leaving their keys in them, and windows open? These people are just walking up and it's a crime of opportunity?
Yeah.
Basically.
And so these car burglars they're not stupid. They know that most of these high-end cars, when you lock the door, the windows automatically fold in. So all they have to do is drive down the street and look at your Mercedes and see if your mirrors are folded out, your car's unlocked.
Oh, really?
Mhm.
Yeah, because Audis, BMWs, Mercedes, so their mirrors automatically fold when they lock the cars. It's a feature. And so they drive down the street and see a mirror's not folded. They know the car's not locked. They jump in, push the button. If it starts, they know the key's in it.
That simple. They leave the fob, or because the fobs don't work outside of the car anymore. One time they did, didn't they?
It depends what car it was.
Depends on the car.
The Jeeps had a big problem with that.
So if the key was hanging in the garage, it was parked in the driveway, you could start it and drive away.
Yeah.
But not anymore so much.
Supposedly the Jeep has changed that,
Yeah,
I
mine
don't
only starts in it.
you have
Yeah,
to be
you
in
have
it,
to
right?
be in it.
Yeah. My wife's Jeep, you can go the other side of this building and just go like this. It push the button, starts right up.
Is there a way we can get a breakdown in the monthly of subtype calls for service, for instance, like accidents, domestics, burglary, robbery? Can we get that breakdown?
I don't know, Rob, what program do you use for the call for
Comes out
service?
of
This is coming out of
That's
what?
coming out of Power BI, actually off our website, and it can be broken down. You can go into the website
Like web reports, whatever.
Yeah, interactive dashboard, select the call type, and it'll tell you how many calls. I would have to have Lieutenant Solik set up a Power BI report
Yeah,
with what parameters that you guys want to see. Certainly do.
He is the Power BI
He's the
guy.
Power BI guy. Go ahead
Yeah.
and say, hey,
Yeah.
give a report for this or that.
So we could just go and talk to Martin and ask him to do that.
No,
Or, I
so
mean, Solik, rather.
Yeah,
Yeah.
if you just tell us what you want for, as far as broken down how by month.
I think we're just kind of interested in different kind of calls for service, right?
yeah, alarms,
Versus
accidents,
accidents, versus
fatals, DUIs.
that kind of stuff.
welcome. Trying to get it done.
All right, bounce all the way to the last page.
You don't want all of them.
What do you mean?
150 call types.
Yeah,
Just the big ones, you know? Accidents, domestics, fatals, robberies, car thefts, burglaries, domestic violence, you know? Something like that. Traffic stop we already kind of have on the second page,
mhm.
the major metrics.
Along the lines of neighbors. You want that? Like
think so.
neighbors?
Yeah.
I pulled the divers numbers off, one month. Or it does a month over month comparison. I mean, it's a one pager.
It's a one
It's a
pager.
one pager with everything, or just NIBR stuff. You're not gonna get crashes. You're only gonna get NIBR stuff, but it's certainly easy to add that one page into the report. If you wanted to just be able to look down and see, you know. That's from a vehicle.
Yeah,
What do we have this month? What do we have?
that
last
wouldn't
month?
get like, alarms, you know.
No, in addition to that, I can add alarm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, if you could do that, in addition to that, that'd be good.
That's fairly simple.
Yeah,
Cause I put that report every month anyway to pull the major
Data.
numbers that I'm putting in the report. So I'll
Yeah.
eliminate that section, the NIBR section and give you the whole NIBR's report.
yeah, something like that. Maybe even like, I don't even, yeah,
Or I can keep that section and add the NIBR's report as in addition. It's not a big deal. It's,
Yeah,
you know,
let's
it's
see
like about
what-
2 minutes worth of work.
maybe see what Lieutenant Sola can do with the Power BI, if he can create a spreadsheet of like, the Power BI report, and that's easy enough. That'd be nice. Just like a breakdown of what the 1800 is. Cause, it could be 1700 robberies and then,
Oh, yeah.
you know what I mean? Like, it'd just be nice to see what the 1800 means, you know?
I'll see it.
Or 18,000,
Next
sorry.
gen- Next gen might
You think next gen can pop that?
Yeah.
maybe able to pull it.
We use
but
that
just
for our
pull the next
annual,
gen report.
yeah, we use that for our annual report. I think next year should.
We had the bike unit report at the very end. Anybody else have anything else before that? Or how much time do we spend on the bike unit and where and when are they deployed? Just for clarification.
We can have, I hope.
Were we getting one day every,
Moving target, where we
Yeah.
have extra people and they're bike people at work.
yeah,
And the weather's gonna be broken. So,
Do we use them like at the fair?
yeah, we use them at the event.
That's a good event.
We use them, they rode in the parade.
Yeah,
We-
yeah.
We use them at the fair. So anything like that, the bikes are out.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's
for
good to
day-to-day
have.
patrol, like on Farmington Avenue, to do, community relations and that, with bicycle enforcement of the kids. It really is basically when we have staffing.
Yeah.
And then if that staffing is bike people.
So apparently there are CALIA standards that the chief brought to my attention, and then there's the IPMBA organization that we follow as the model policy. So in order to stay certified for bicycles, we have to follow this particular
Like PIMBA.
format.
Yeah.
So that's what we're dealing with. All right, we all set with Lieutenant Martin's report, so thank you, Lieutenant Martin. Okay, so we'll move on to Lieutenant Sean Solik. Any questions there? Pretty straightforward. It looks like we're FTO training completion. We have 2 in August, October, and January, and so does that mean that after today's lateral hire, that by the end of January, we'll be fully staffed?
Nobody leaves.
Nobody leaves. A hell of an accomplishment. Thank you.
And if somebody leaves, we've got 3 more in the wings ready to bring in.
Oh, we do.
We got a couple laterals and we got somebody on a list.
I'm noticing in the unconditional hiring letter that we hand out, that you can actually have somebody kind of in standby as a hire, and then they can be brought in in a later date. Am I wording that wrong? But your conditional approval that's in that,
Yeah, we started keeping a list.
so you could call them up and say, gee whiz, we have an opportunity.
Mhm.
We can do that.
Mhm.
So we can do that with these 3.
Yeah, I have one from Bloomfield and one from what was is it Weathersfield? Yeah. That wanted to come in after July 1st if we have openings. And we have one that on our last hiring session where we did the interviews and all, that is on the list now. If we call them up and say, hey, we got an opening now, and they say, well, I took a job someplace else, then we're out of luck. That's how it works, But the idea was to create a list to hire from, which before, every time we waited till somebody left, then we'd start the process and
Just killed once.
yeah, killed, 5 months to get one person, it's killing us. So,
And obviously, we'll always know about any laterals that might possibly be interested.
yeah, well, the tables turn. Once you got a pension, we have people interested in coming here now from other places. just like this kid.
People don't
Yeah.
want to be there for progress.
No, our people aren't gonna,
Now with a
if we
pension.
have one leaving, it's gonna be because of age. Or maybe somebody gets a great job someplace that I can't even think of right now.
Well, we have
Everybody
somebody
that's-
we have an officer on Lake Duty if he decides to retire. that
Yeah,
would be an opportunity.
yeah, so I've got people waiting for his job, his spot already. And then,
We changed our vesting.
yeah,
Pension. So existing employees have to vest for 5 years for the pension. Any new employees have to vest for 10.
Yeah.
So it kind of locks people.
locks them in.
Got someplace 10 years.
20 or 25 and up?
You have an
25
option.
and 55.
Okay, got it. Yeah.
Very good. The next one would be juvenile detective Kevin Chafee. Anybody have any questions there? That's on the same table for that same report. Very back. How's K9 Penny doing?
She's not shit. She doesn't doing good. She's done a couple good tracks and not just for us, but we've sent it to other agencies at their request too, so.
She gets the
And,
job now, huh?
yeah, we found out she doesn't like dead bodies
Oh, really?
How'd you
Yeah.
find that
It's
out?
not bad.
because she gets to the dead body and turns around. So they're working on, that's what you have cadaver dogs for, which she's not a cadaver dog, so. And we do have, we are looking for a 3rd dog. So we have the McCarthy family donated to outfit a car. And,
Did they really?
yeah, and Budney says he'll pay for a 3rd dog, Mr. Budney, the Budney Enterprise over there.
Mhm.
The problem's gonna be, the training, the way that,
How's the other dog doing for Officer Chris House?
her dog is good, but he's starting to get old too.
Say it's been-
How old is
Yeah.
he now?
Kasner? 8, yeah,
that's
it's today.
The young 8.
Yeah, he's very young still, but
Seems like it.
yeah, and then, I'd like to have a dog on every shift. That was my goal. You know, our bloodhound's on midnights right now, but that could change depending on where the officer goes.
So midnight till 7 o'clock in the morning,
Yeah,
like 10 to 7.
That should change it.
well, so, yeah, that's gonna change. He's gonna move, right?
When
Yeah,
they move it till-
Easy.
daisies.
Right, and then he did start a juvenile offender tracker folder for.
Yes, he's got it in this report. And,
That's nice.
he's getting slammed. I can honestly say I talked to him today on a couple of the cases. You know, we, with Magoo out for, child, paternity, couldn't think of the name. We moved Megan Musanti to cover for him in, training. But she's also picking up, she's doing some of the other stuff that he had multiple jobs and she's picking up. I don't know if you look at online, you'll see that she's posting a lot of stuff on our social media and all. She's very good at it and, so we're trying to get more information out to the public and all too. And we did post an arrest with a very high bond and a guy that I know that's a bail bondsman commented, he goes, wow, you guys get to keep that high bond in Hartford. And he thanked the Hartford GA for keeping a high bond. And I was laughing because I know he spends a lot of time at 18 in Litchfield and 3 in Danbury, and they let everybody get, so it's kind of hurting his business. Yeah, but Champy's doing a good job.
All right, we'll move on to support services, Lieutenant Michael Peters. Any questions there? We have support services, Sergeant Haas. Page 4, we have SRO Mark Pinto. Any questions there? I call it page 4 because I number the pages. To get to stuff quick. Any questions there? You have the May training report is also Sergeant Haas. Any questions there? And then you have posts. Very end. Page 4. The post. Kind of nice to give you
Yeah, that's their
kind of
first,
a little newsletter, right?
that's their first attempt,
Who did this?
the cadets. They'll be, it's gonna be a monthly thing they're gonna be putting out. So this is a 1-page one.
So they put this together themselves?
Yeah, one of the girls did.
She did a great job. Very good. All right, so we're gonna move on to sports services. And then we have Drew Gallup's report here. The only thing of interest in there.
Lots of training.
You know,
Well, you know, it's that time of
I
year.
know. Happens everywhere.
Yeah,
Funny. It's just funny seeing it.
one.
Yeah.
I know, because we've been getting a lot on it, actually. We do have some people going in July for fingerprint class. The FBI's doing a free 3-day one, fingerprint classification, and also we're sending a couple detectives and I think a patrolman there.
and we move on to the actual budget here, and I believe that Commissioner Giannone was working off of this month's. You were talking about it before.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're all square there.
Yeah, I think
We have all our questions in order.
I feel that.
Okay.
The lights are getting crazy.
Yep, anybody have any questions on the FOI?
It's long every month.
And again, that's another budget line, because how much money are we spending? Gotta be awesome. Yeah, sure. By the looks of it.
Yeah, it depends what the FOI is for. Most of them are for motor vehicle collisions.
Especially the body cam stuff. We have to
So you're taking the time to look through footage and body cameras and everything else, right?
Yeah.
Right, that takes care of that, and then we have an executive session, we can make it quick, it's gonna be for,
real estate. lease.
Right. Real estate lease negotiation.
Make-
I'd like to.
I make a motion, but I would like to have 1 minute break.
Okay, I'll second it, we can say aye. Aye. You know, we.
I'll text you the particulars.
Okay, going into the executive session.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, we're in it. Motion to adjourn.
I second that motion.
Okay, so first, and second.
All in favor, aye.
All good, let's go home. I think we did pretty good.
Not bad for 2
I think we
months.
did pretty good for 2 months.
Yeah.
A lot of it overlap.